ferociously trying to memorize this in the car because I thought that you couldn't use like cue cards, but okay. So I'm here to tell you that there is one silent killer of this generation. Okay. It is it's the quiet aching that we feel in our everyday lives, a force that drives so much of what we say and what we do. And the modern world, in all of its super hyper-connected, fast-paced glory, is plagued by an epidemic of loneliness. And I'm sure it's a feeling that we're all too familiar with. It seems as natural a part of our human experience as hunger or thirst. And just as they help to regulate our physical needs, loneliness serves to regulate our social needs. And our brain chemistry has been wired this way since the dawn of our species. Yet, however, this seemingly minor and familiar emotion that we experience every day is far more prevalent than it has ever been before. And ironically, it's in an age filled with the most marvelous of technologies that allows for the most convenient forms of communication. Why is it that our population is haunted by depression, anxiety, and feelings of utter isolation? According to a study done by Psychology Today, 20% of adults in the US and the UK report dealing with chronic loneliness. And according to another study done by Brigham Young University in the US, chronic loneliness can increase your rate of mortality by 26%. Comparisons have even been made between feeling lonely and smoking 15 cigarettes a day or having extreme obesity. And so there's really no doubt that chronic loneliness has a profoundly negative effect on our health and well-being. But at face value, we've always understood loneliness to be a byproduct of being alone. When we were children, maybe we understood it as that sad ache in our heart when there was no one to talk to, or when we were being excluded from a game during recess. Those are the stories of loneliness that most people know. But what's less pronounced is when we're in a room surrounded by our friends and family, yet still finding ourselves feeling completely and utterly alone. That is because loneliness can foster anywhere and in anyone, because it's a condition that's universal to us all. It doesn't matter how charming, how successful, how beautiful, how kind you are. It doesn't matter if you're in a room filled with people or if you're completely by yourself. I remember moving back to Canada when I was 6. And back then I couldn't communicate properly in English, so I was forced to be an observer. And in my solitude, all I yearned for was to have a friend. A few years later, I did. Yet that feeling of isolation never quite left me. At that age, I couldn't really understand why, but now looking back, I realize it was because I was never truly myself. I was so desperate to hold on to any human connection that I abandoned who I really was, in fear that others would make fun of me, that they would abandon me, they would ostracize me. And now I really question, how meaningful can that kind of friendship be? So over the years, I've thought about it a lot, and now I realize that so much of what we say and what we do traces back to this fear of being alone. You think about it, sometimes we all chase self-improvement and success, maybe because of the fulfillment that it will bring us, but also perhaps because of the validation and admiration that our peers are bound to shower us with. We'll travel and do daring things, perhaps not because we value the experience of it, but because they make for really interesting anecdotes or cool pictures. And you know, the digital world that we're all a part of loves to capitalize on this fact, because validation and companionship becomes a product that they can sell to you. Online, we scroll through endless profiles where a single page is supposed to encompass the worth of an entire human being. We look through a curated feed of the highlights of someone's life, and we ourselves create an embellished version of our own. And then, but isn't it then that we become nothing more than an advertisement online? We've been reduced from a real human being to a profile. We're performing who we are, but not really living it. So I believe it is this shame about who we truly are that can explain the spread of depression, anxiety, and feelings of isolation. So at the end of the day, this innate yearning for human connection lies within us all. It's what motivates us in daily life to achieve things and reach greater heights. But at the same time, it cripples us with the fear of being rejected and unloved, so much so that we have to suppress who we actually are. But I don't think we should be afraid of what the world thinks about us. Because truly, the cure to loneliness is not to create this flawless version of yourself so that everyone will love and adore you. It's to embrace your vulnerability, to speak about your individual human experiences without fear, and to live as you truly are. Because human connection is not a cheap exchange of words. It's not a showcase of a persona. Human connection is bearing your soul out for the world to see. Because that's the only way that any of us will find true and lasting companionships. Thank you.